From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, protecting these gentle giants of the farm, how CBD oil may hold the key to having them live more comfortable lives.
Coming up today on AgDay, what could the future of farm equipment look like? We'll give you a glimpse.
And farmers will soon have a new tool in the fight against weeds.
Traits, new modes of action are new tools that can actually have better control of weeds in their fields.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. For the first time in 30 years, a company will soon be introducing a new mode of action for killing weeds. Bayer saying in a news release, a molecule in phase 2 of early development has demonstrated effective control of key resistant grasses in research. Now, the company is saying now it's working on a discovery phase program in an effort to develop new resistant traits for crops out there in the future. So far, the company has not announced a name for that new broad-acre post-emergent herbicide.
What it offers to our farmers and customers is a new way to fight weeds in a field. And so what we have now is through the combination of traits, new modes of action, are new tools that can actually have better control of weeds in their fields.
Keep in mind, each new herbicide takes about a decade in development and $250 million before it hits the market. It also needs lots of testing and regulatory approvals. Each of these hurdles must be completed before it makes it to the farm. Stocks opening lower Thursday on Wall Street, with China reporting a sharp spike in deaths and infections from the deadly coronavirus. The increase coming as a surprise for investors who had become more at ease because of a recent decline in the number of daily new cases. CNBC reporting a White House official says the U.S. does not have high confidence in the information coming out of China with regards to the virus, but the World Health Organization says the number of new cases may have stabilized over the past week. It's cautioning the outbreak could still get much worse. All this is happening as the new Phase 1 trade deal with China is scheduled to go into effect this weekend. Speaking this week before the Senate Finance Committee, U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin talked about the agreement and the effect the coronavirus could have on those promised U.S. ag buys.
Obviously, our biggest focus is implementing Phase 1. That, to a certain extent, has slowed down given the virus as expected. And I think Phase 2, the good news is Ambassador Lighthizer and I have the entire Phase 2 chapters dealt with. And we've said we may roll them out as Phase 2 A, B, C, D. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big bang.
Trump administration officials say so far they have not received requests from Chinese officials on delaying purchase commitments in the Phase 1 agreement. And Ecuador may be next in line for a trade agreement with the U.S. The president visiting with Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno earlier this week.
Mr. President, are you open to working on a trade deal with Ecuador?
Yeah, sure, we will, and they have incredible product, and they grow it, and they make it, and we like it, so we will, sure, and they need our product too.
The U.S. is Ecuador's largest trading partner. The U.S. exported about $381 million worth of agricultural goods to Ecuador in 2018. We've had snow, rain, and now it's time for a blast of Arctic cold. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joins us. He has an update. Mike.
Well, that's right, Clinton. It's a very cold morning across most of the Midwest. In fact, wind chills are generally below zero, way below zero in some cases from North Dakota all the way to Maine, single digits down to the Ohio River Valley, and even teens from North Texas to northern Mississippi and northern Alabama. Cold morning, but it's not going to last real long this time around. However, it is blossom time for the almonds in California. AgDay's Betsy Gibbon surveying the crop in Fresno County. You can see it right there. She says in another 2 weeks, the whole orchard will be in bloom. I'll have more on your forecast coming up in just a little while.
World Ag Expo is going on in Tulare, California this week. That's where we find AgDay national reporter Betsy Gibbon. Betsy, hemp has a big presence at the event this year.
Clinton, World Ag Expo has been going on for quite a few years, but this is one of the first times hemp has really been front and center.
So all the way from propagation, as soon as we can see the leaves, we can mist it all the way through to harvest.
This year's expo featuring a hemp innovation challenge for the first time, a competition designed similar to Shark Tank, where farmers, companies, and researchers pitch some of the latest hemp innovations in the world. What's also new is the Hemp Pavilion. It's lined with booths which show the latest hemp advances and where the industry could go.
You know, the fantastic thing about industrial hemp is, it can be used for construction materials, especially cellulose insulation that we've designed. But this is just shown on a mechanical piece of equipment, your duct work, your air conditioning. But it's mainly sprayed in the wall bay of your stud walls, and then it's filled and covered up with drywall usually.
So this is a BMW 7 Series door panel. It's a hemp fiber composite. You can see that the fibers are in there. It replaces fiberglass. It's lighter weight than fiberglass. It performs better, and so the auto industry, including BMW, has been using this in cars for about the last 20 years. And so, it's a really new high-tech application for hemp that we think could be really big here in the U.S.
And hemp is just one of the many crops talked about here at the expo. Reporting at World Ag Expo, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy. Now, this is a partnership we never expected. Crocs and KFC have teamed up creating the KFCX Crocs Bucket Clog. The limited edition shoes covered in a fried chicken print, and the base has that iconic red striped bucket look. They even come with 2 attachable charms that look and smell like fried chicken. The cost, just under $60, and no, you cannot eat them. All right, coming up, we talk livestock prices, which have been on quite a ride lately. And later, helping horses through all those aches and pains, a new treatment is offering up hope for these longtime friends on the farm in the country. The National Pork Board says 2019 was a record year for exports, setting new highs for both value and volume. For the year, 5.89 billion pounds of pork were exported to countries around the world, having a value of almost $7 billion. Now, exports accounted for more than 26% of the total pork production last year, with export value per head averaging more than $53. The president of the National Pork Board said China was the main driver for the record-breaking pace. And just this week, Tyson Foods says it saw a 600% year-over-year increase in pork orders to China in the fiscal first quarter. Soybeans rising to a new high for the month on Thursday amid unconfirmed reports. China buyers were checking prices. Here's an update from Oliver Slope at the CME.
We're seeing corn give back some of yesterday's gains, but all in all, the price action over the past 3 sessions has been fairly constructive. With that said, we really haven't gone anywhere. We're still kind of a stick in the mud in the middle of that range, but we did get a halfway bearish USDA report and really failed to break down below new lows. And this is what we're referring to as a fundamental rejection. The market can't break lower on bearish news. Potentially, there's no new sellers willing to step in, and we could see some of the shorts who have shorts on start to cover those positions and buy. Now, as far as the soybeans are concerned, they've had a strong move here over the past week and a half as well. $8.90 previous resistance, now going to be key support going forward. $9 psychologically and technically significant. If we can achieve consecutive closes out above here, I wouldn't be surprised to see an extension towards $9.15 to $9.20 here in the near future. Livestock sector get a little bit of a bid today, which is nice to see considering we got some bad news overnight with more cases of the coronavirus, shocker, coming out of China. We think there's probably a lot more than are being reported still yet to come, but the market shrugging off that kind of outside market volatility. It is a holiday weekend. Coronavirus still a big concern, very fluid situation. So you might see a little bit of a risk off trade into the weekend, so tread lightly. You don't want to hold all that risk over a 3-day weekend where you don't know what the headlines are going to be. Now, moving over to the feeder cattle market, $136.90 for that March contract is the 50% retracement, or basically the meat in the middle of the range here from the contract close to contract highs. If we're able to get out above here, potentially we go fill that gap from January 24th, comes in at $139.50. But as with the live cattle market, these are rallies that we're looking to step back in on the short side with clients from the hedging side and the speculative side. This has been Oliver Slope with Blue Line Futures from the floor of the CME.
Jeff French, Top Third Ag Marketing, our guest in studio today. Jeff, let's talk about this livestock market. It's been one of the most, especially the cattle side, dynamic markets happening out there right now. What's your read on where we are?
Well, I mean, we've overdone it down here. I mean, we were down for 2 weeks consecutively to close out the month of January. It was a really get me out type of mentality. And when I say that, I mean the fund managers were getting out of their long positions. From the September lows, we rallied the market $22 to $23, mainly on funds buying. And they built a 90,000 contract long position. Oh, wow. And, you know, they were betting on higher prices, winter feeding conditions, which have been excellent here this year.
They have.
The cattle right now, carcass weight's 20 to 25 pounds over last year. Now they got out of those positions. They've sold maybe 40, 45,000. Starting to show some signs that we are at least slowing down the selling. The one thing I do look at, though, the April contract has a gap down there at 116. We're up here right around 119 area. Maybe we go down and close that gap before we move higher. Okay. But we got a lot of winter ahead of us. Things can change quickly. But right now the funds continue to sell their long positions, but they can stop that and get long here pretty soon again as well.
There could be some benefits if you play it right to a lower cattle price right now, right?
Oh, absolutely. And we're telling our clients that we'll be buying calves this spring to get them locked in, either buying the outright board or buying some type of call option to protect against higher prices. You're looking at the May feeders, 145 call. You can get that right around for $3 a hundred. You got to remember the feeders just broke 14 cents off the highs. So we could be in the money on those on just a 50% retracement off this sell-off. So if you're buying calves, you know, you might want to protect this break here, and you can do that with some call options.
All right, well, it's a pretty interesting market to keep track of. Of course, it keeps moving on us, but we appreciate your insights as always. Thanks, Jeff. We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up here in just a minute.
For a special report on the grain markets, call toll-free at 877-TT-HEDGE. That's 877-884-3343.
Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joining us now. And Mike, as we talk about how warm January was, NOAA came out and said that it was the warmest in 141 years of keeping record, beating 2016 for January. But here we are in a cold snap here to start February.
Yeah, we are. Although these are more typical numbers for this time of the year.
Right.
January was definitely above normal for most of the middle of the country. You know, the drought monitor, we've seen a change in California. You can see that area of orange starting to show up in the Central Valley of California, and that is the drought starting to kind of take effect in that area. We're going to have to check, see how much moisture there is, because they irrigate a lot, obviously, in that part of the country. But you can see it's kind of remained dry in those typical areas that we've been seeing over the past 4 weeks. That's 4 weeks ago. Not a big difference from what we are seeing right now in eastern and south Texas, Four Corner region, on up into the Pacific Northwest. That area has obviously improved a lot over the past several months, but there's that new area of moderate drought just starting to show up in the Central Valley of California. High pressure dominating most of the country. Storm systems off to the northeast. Obviously, we showed you off the top or earlier in the show how cold this dome of high pressure is. Cold front all the way into northern Florida, and another cold front, weak one. Actually, this has more Pacific air behind it. It'll almost be like a warm front coming through the northern plains. A little bit of snow with that, not a lot. Cold front continues through central Florida with some showers and thunderstorms along it later today. Heading into tomorrow morning, it's all the way into South Florida. The northern front is over the northern Mississippi Valley, western Great Lakes. Next storm system starting to show up. That's a little bigger storm coming into the Pacific Northwest with some rain and mountain snows. You can see that original cold front then. A little light snow across the Great Lakes as we head through Saturday afternoon and evening. There's the moisture over the past 30 or 24 hours or so, adding in the next 36. We don't add a lot in most places. Scattered stuff in Florida, light stuff north of the Great Lakes, and a little bit more moisture in the Pacific Northwest. Some of that obviously is in the form of snow. Over the next 36 hours, we'll see a little bit in the Great Lakes in the Northeast, but not much, and not much with that next front either. There are the temperatures this afternoon. Still very, very cold across the Great Lakes, upper Midwest into the Northeast. Low temperatures tomorrow morning, very cold Great Lakes in the Northeast. And then we start the warm up again, at least for a couple of days, as those 50s show back up into the Central Plains. Jetstream showing the trough moving away, another one kind of digging in over the weekend. That's a weak one. Then look at this one. This brings another shot of Arctic air, looks like, for the Great Lakes in the northeast, but that doesn't last long. We're heading into a pattern where it's going to turn cold at times in the east, though, I think. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We head to Elko, Nevada. First of all, partly sunny, rather pleasant actually, high of 51 degrees. Mitchell, South Dakota, partly sunny, windy, not as cold, high up to 37. And Salisbury, Maryland, breezy and colder with a little sunshine at times, high around 38.
Still ahead, we're going back out to the National Farm Machinery Show, where efforts are being made to combine the old with the new. The Association of Equipment Manufacturers reports the sales of all tractors in the U.S. so far this year were up 5% in January. That's compared to last year. The sale of two-wheel drive smaller tractors were up 3%, while 40 and under 100 horsepower were up 5%. Now, combine sales were down 25% in January. And if you're in the market for something shiny and new at the farm, the National Farm Machinery Show is the place to check it out. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan is there. Tyne, there's a ton of new stuff to see out there.
Yeah, thanks. Each year, the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky boasts rows and rows of the latest equipment. And here in 2020, it could be providing those interested in equipment a glimpse into the future. While some companies are looking at the next best product for the future, John Deere is answering a need for equipment that's used.
It is a brand new planter, but we have it hooked to a 43-year-old tractor just to show off the compatibility.
John Deere unveiling a 1745 narrow transport planter that's compact and one that can work with older tractors farmers already have on their farm today.
We've had a lot of conversations with producers just over the last day and a half, and they're very excited about this planter because it's going to work with the tractor they already have.
The planter is 8 rows for corn, 15 rows for soybeans, much smaller than the massive planters plowing through some fields today. Planters on the horizon like AGCO's first ever Fendt planter, one they say will change the way producers plant.
We moved the toolbar back, but then there's also the problem that, somehow this has got to match the ground as it goes up and over. We're a long ways back from behind the bars, and so that's where that contouring toolbar came in. And really, that was just really the heartbeat that started this all out.
Kinsey also coming out with new products this year, ones the company says are engineered to reduce downtime and repairs. Kinsey reconfigured its 4705 planter to also include tires in front of the toolbar and boasts a 600-gallon liquid fertilizer capacity. Kubota unveiling a futuristic concept autonomous tractor called the X Factor this year, which is battery powered and has tracks. It was showcased at an event in Japan earlier this year, with Kubota saying the concept is a zero-emission vehicle using a combination of lithium, ion, and solar batteries. From George's Jetson-like tractors to planters that change the way farmers plant, equipment manufacturers are launching onto 2020 on all cylinders.
All right, thanks, Tyne. Coming up, keeping some friends on the farm happy and healthy. How CBD oil is providing relief for horses. Next. Hay may be for horses, but apparently so is hemp. Vets are using CBD to treat horses dealing with arthritis or anxiety, but does it work? That's what researchers are looking into right now, and they're conducting their work at Tarleton State University's Equine Center, which is part of the Texas A&M University system.
CBD, which is the non-psychoactive ingredient in cannabis, is everywhere and in everything, it seems. Many people are even giving it to their horses to mediate stress and treat behaviors like cribbing. But does it work? Researchers at Tarleton State University's Equine Center are doing the work to find out.
Well, we're doing some study with horses and CBD to measure the physiological and behavioral effects that horses will display whenever we dose them with CBD. We want to document exactly what CBD is doing to the animal system. We're quantifying heart rate, we'll quantify a stress hormone that is given off when an animal is stressed. It's called cortisol. We'll also quantify some inflammation. We can also quantify on scores, some pain scores, the lameness scores. At the end of this study, we hope to have the data that will define and document what exactly is going on with the horse. Is it actually helping minimize stress and stereotypic behavior? And then once we have this for horses, then we'd like to use this in transition to minimize that stress, see if we can increase well-being with our food production animals.
And we thank Texas A&M University System for sharing that story. That's all the time we have this morning. I'm sure glad you tuned in. For all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.